Um, I just want to highlight a couple of things that we learned here today. I know that I made some predictions at the beginning, but start off by saying that retatrutide at ADA really set a new standard for weight loss induction. So if you didn't see the retatrutide top line at ADA, you're going to see the full study results from Triumph 1. And it's really been described as bariatric surgery-like weight loss reduction. Now, one of the things that we've heard from several people here today is that one of the shortcomings of GLP-1 based therapeutics is the discontinuation. And there are many reasons for that, but when it happens, it causes a metabolic whiplash, which has been described here by an expert who we've been working with to include things like hyperglycemic spike, hypertensive rebound, lipid surge, sarcopenic weight regain, dopaminergic resurgence, and inflammatory bounce. So these are all things to avoid when discontinuation of GLP-1 therapeutics happens, and especially with cycling. These contribute to a negative impact on body composition. And as we've heard here today, increased fat and decreased muscle are bad for survival. Decreased fat and increased muscle are predictors of survival. And they're for the reasons shown here. I don't know if you can read that small font, but for the reasons shown here, they increase cardiovascular disease, they increase kidney disease, type 2 diabetes, and ultimately they increase death rates. So I kind of tried to summarize everything here on this graphic, which we kind of spoke a little bit about on the last panel, talking about how the discovery and development of obesity therapeutics has led to very effective weight loss induction drugs, and now we're moving on to the maintenance of healthy weight and also body composition, lean muscle mass preservation, fat selective weight loss. And part of this is supported by precision medicine, using biomarkers, phenotypes, genotypes, trying to identify patients at risk. And with that, hopefully we can conduct prevention studies. And so basically what we're talking about here is obesity forming a foundation, or I think on the panel we called it a blueprint for healthy aging. And it's not imaginary either, because it's already, this whole concept has already materialized with obesity drugs, which were founded on diabetes therapeutics. So it's happened once, and we think it's happening again. And another thing that I think has been an important theme throughout the day has been the consumer-driven nature of obesity drugs, which we also think will translate into drugs for healthy aging. And with that, I was asked to highlight a few abstracts at ADA. So I've done that here, and I put them into 3 categories. These are abstracts from the leaders, Lilly and Novo. As I mentioned, Triumph 1, the retatrutide study in obesity, has achieved bariatric surgery like weight loss. That'll be presented tomorrow. It was top-lined earlier, but it will be presented in details tomorrow. Also, orforglipron data, so that's the small molecule oral GLP-1 agonist that has been FDA approved under the brand name Foundayo. We'll have some data tomorrow in type 2 diabetes. And then Novo has high-dose semaglutide for preservation of kidney function. So this gets to the gist of this meeting in terms of obesity treatments to improve cardiovascular and renal outcomes. And then Novo also has the Reimagine studies for their amylin and GLP-1 for type 2 diabetes, known as CagriSema. That'll be on Sunday. So those are kind of the leaders. Now, in terms of the next entrance into this market, AstraZeneca and Echogene, who we heard from earlier, also have a small molecule GLP-1. They have data, phase 2 data being presented here. That's on Monday. Pfizer has phase 3 data from a GLP-1, ultra-long-acting injectable GLP-1 that they acquired from Metsera. We saw earlier this year there was some top-line data. We'll see the details tomorrow. I think that's going to be dosed once monthly. And Regeneron has lean muscle mass preservation from a combination of anti-GDF8 and anti-activin A antibody in people with obesity who took semaglutide, um, who had either low muscle mass at baseline or not. And then Roche and Zealand, who we heard from here today, petrelintide, their amylin compound, phase 2 data that'll be presented tomorrow. They also have CT388. That's a dual GLP-1 GIP agonist with data also tomorrow. And then Boehringer and Zealand. We'll talk about survodutide, which we heard a little bit about earlier today. And then these are the emerging science abstracts, the third category of abstracts I wanted to highlight. BioAge, Paul Rubin on our panel was from BioAge. Their molecule BGE-102, it's a novel NLRP3 inhibitor. They'll have some data presented on Sunday. And they also have a preclinical model that will be presented on Sunday. Wave Life Science, they were also on one of our panels. They have phase 1 data from their InLight study. That's an siRNA for treatment of obesity. iBio has an activin E antibody. So activin E is the protein encoded by the inhibin E gene. That it's non-human primate data that looking at body composition, that's on Sunday. And then there's a Chinese company called BaseCure that has BC006, that's another inhibin E siRNA, first in human data that further validates the inhibin E pathway. And then we heard earlier from Kevin at EOS Senolytics. They actually presented data at this meeting today. And then also we heard earlier today about ribupatide data that's phase 2 data in patients with obesity. That'll be on Sunday. And that wraps up the kind of emerging science abstracts that I wanted to highlight. And with that, I want to thank Sachs Associates and Leonard for their phenomenal work bringing us all here together today and organizing this. And as we bring this meeting to a close, I want to thank our silver sponsor, Phoenix Group International, our supporters, chairs, speakers, and panelists whose expertise helped shape today's program. And I want to remind you that you can continue to plan virtual meetings, which will be held through the 16th and 17th of June. You can also view recordings from today's sessions. They'll be online, the online portal starting June 16th, and it'll close on July 3rd. There's several other exciting events planned for the future, so please tune in to the SACS website, www.sacsforum.com. And with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us and look forward to meeting you in our relaxing reception.